Happy Monday to Rutgers fans out there, coming off a third straight win for Rutgers men's basketball this past weekend. The most dominant performance of the season against number 11 Wisconsin, or then number 11 Wisconsin. They obviously have dropped quite a bit in the rankings, but irrelevant in terms of, analytically, it's still a top 20 win. It's still a quad one win. Huge win, best win of the season, best performance of the season. And now it sets up what could be considered, even a week ago, an improbable stretch run possibility with Rutgers basketball now knocking on the door of the NCAA tournament bubble. They're not there yet. I wouldn't even say they're knocking on the door. Let me take that back. I'll say they're a block or two away from the bubble. And this next, they can beat Northwestern at home on Thursday and at Minnesota on Sunday. They will be on the bubble with an opportunity to knock through the door at this present time, playing at Purdue the following Thursday. Before we get ahead of ourselves, I know people get nervous, blah, blah, blah. Listen, let's have fun from where this season was just 3 games ago, the misery of that loss to Penn State to now. I just want to talk about a few things, but the stretch run ahead, what the schedule looks like, but also to me, what one really key aspect of all of this for Rutgers to hit their ceiling, whatever their ceiling may be, regardless of whether it's the NCAA tournament, the NIT, or not, just finishing above 500 for the 5th straight season, any of all of the above, for Rutgers to be at its best. I think there's a real key to what they need to do that. Now, there's a bunch of keys, of course, right? I mean, Rutgers right now is number 2 nationally in defensive efficiency. They've been fantastic. Jeremiah Williams has only made them better on the defensive end in terms of their cohesiveness, the starters gelling. Peichel has now switched to a 3-guard rotation. JaMychal Davis, offers really strong on-ball defense, and that, I think, is his number one attribute in terms of why he is starting, alongside Derek Simpson, who has taken a leap defensively. Jeremiah Williams offers him that size at 6'5", that aggressiveness, the physicality, the defensive rebounding, all of that on the defensive end. And now Cliff and Mag, have elevated their games in terms of rim defense, and we know Mag's versatility and Cliff with the 8 blocks. I mean, the amount of steals and blocks they're generating, they're creating an advantage in terms of getting more opportunities on the offensive end, both in transition, both off of turnovers, but also just raw field goal attempts. Rutgers is averaging, a lot more shot attempts now of late. They had 9 more than Wisconsin, quite a bit more than Michigan. I forget exactly how many, but this is a significant step. It's not just their offense being more competent with Jeremiah Williams. Their defense is now in elite category, and they were pretty high up in terms of metrics and efficiencies and all that before he arrived, but they really have taken it to another level. They're number 2 nationally now, and they're right. They're knocking on. They're right behind Maryland in terms of tops in Big Ten play. The defense will always keep them in games. It's a matter, right, of can they continue their defense? Can they continue their rebounding? And what can they improve on offensively? The addition of Jeremiah Williams has allowed them to space the floor better, to get downhill to the rim. It has helped Cliff in open space. It has helped generate better shot selection from everybody. Jeremiah's just ability to get to the hole. He's actually shooting overall. He's shooting just 41%. Obviously, he's a year and a half rust to shake off. But at Temple in his 2 seasons, he shot 48% from 2. And right now he's shooting 41.2% from 2. So my point is he's going to get better, I think, inside, finishing at the rim. Where I think this team can take the next step, and what I think is an interesting dynamic now in terms of the rotation, is that their best 3-point shooting threats, and I'm not saying their best 3-point shooters statistically to date, but their best 3-point shooters are all coming off the bench now. So we know what Noah Fernandes did against Wisconsin. He's actually got the best. He's shooting 35% for the year now from three. And does he have the most attempts? He's 21 to 61 for 34.4%. But that is a team high. Andre Hyatt now coming off the bench, taking on a new role, which has benefited everybody. And I've spoken at length about his attitude. He leads them by far with 125 attempts, 41 makes, 32.8% now. And then Gavin Griffiths, who has struggled, shooting just 25% on 72 attempts. But those are your three primary bench guys right now in terms of minutes. And they are your three best bets from three. Jeremiah's 2 of 5. He's not traditionally a strong 3-point shooter. He's not awful, but he's right around 30%. Derek Simpson is for this season shooting 29.6, 30%. And then you have Davis is not shooting much from 3, 6, 23, 26%. And Mag is shooting 25.6%, about 45 attempts. So Rutgers is not relying on the three. Their shot attempts, even before Jeremiah Williams, they're averaging just 15 attempts from deep per game. And they're averaging just, even in the last 6 games, I mean, other than the Wisconsin game, other than the Nebraska game, they are only averaging 43 makes in 10 games outside of those two in Big Ten play. Overall, they've made 64 in 12 games. Right, so that's just over 5 per game, and when they make 5 or more threes, they overall this season they've won 9 games. They're 9 and 5 in those games. So again, the three ball's not everything, but what is curious and interesting is that there are 8 remaining Big Ten games left. They're playing 7 of the worst 3-point defense teams in the league. Now, 3-point defense, it's a little bit of luck to it, a little bit of strategy to it. Sometimes you allow teams to shoot threes, right? And Wisconsin is one of those. They're not strong against the three, but they kind of, pack the paint. And it obviously hurt them. But in terms of 3-point defense on the schedule remaining, other than Maryland, who did shut Rutgers down from 3, but it didn't matter. They still won the game on the road. All the other teams on the schedule have not defended the three particularly well. They're all allowing opponents to shoot 35% or better in Big Ten play. So I think it's a fascinating angle for this team moving forward for them to reach their ceiling. Can they be competent from 3? Again, I think what's also interesting is that you saw in the Wisconsin game, Rutgers' ability to get downhill, to attack the rim, open things up from the perimeter in the second half. Kickouts were there. Transition threes were there a little bit. Noah took some from South Brunswick, but the point being, Rutgers is now playing a certain style that when they're aggressive and able to get into the paint, get into the rim, find driving lanes, find cliff in space, in the second half of games, it's going to help open up perimeter shots. And now you're going to be bringing guys off the bench, and they're going to get runs in that, 13, 14 minute window left in the game. And you get Noah, Gavin, and Andre. Now, you don't want to completely shift your style, right? And they can't just only be hunting threes when they come in the game. But those are your guys that need to look for threes. And I think they'll be playing in a stage of the game where those shots could be there based on how Rutgers is running offense right now. And I think it's an opportunity. I think it's something to look for and watch for in terms of can they capitalize on that? Because, again, they're not going to make 10 of 17 threes moving forward, right? They have 3 games now where they had double-digit threes. It was this past game against Wisconsin. It was a Nebraska game, which they didn't shoot a great percentage. They shot 29 threes, made 11. It's at 32%. And then the Seton Hall game when they were lights out from 3 also. They don't need to be lights out from 3 to win games. They've shown that. They've been poor from 3 at times and won anyway with their defense and rebounding and their transition offense, their offense rebounding second chance points. But the point being is that if they can make 5 a game, 5 or 6 a game. The other flip side of this is they're very good defending the three in Big Ten play. They are right now, just pulling it back up in terms of 3-point defense. They are number 2, 32.1% opponents, just behind Indiana in terms of allowing 3-point shots. And they do play, let's see, in terms of offensive threes, they have some good 3-point shooting teams coming. Northwestern is number 1, although it's looking like Ty Berry, their top 3-point shooter, 43%, averages 2.5 makes a game. He's getting his knee scoped. It was reported yesterday. It seems very unlikely he'll play on Thursday. I know as Rutgers fans, we don't want to rule anyone out 100%, but it sounds like they're just hoping to get him back for the Big Ten tournament. So that would be a loss for them. It doesn't make Northwestern necessarily undangerous from 3, but just something to know. And I'll preview that game before Thursday. Nebraska's 3rd, Purdue is 4th, Wisconsin is 5th, Michigan's 7th. In terms of poor 3-point shooting teams in the league, you have Minnesota, Ohio State, and Maryland, with Rutgers in the bottom 4, all making 32% or less. So they are going to get some poor 3-point shooting teams, but the last 6 games in particular, Rutgers has allowed just 22.7% from 3. Opponents are shooting 122 attempts per game, and they're only making 5, and they're just making 22.7%. So the 3-point defense has to be there. But I like to look at 3-point spread in games because if teams are outscoring you from behind the arc by 15 points a game, that's very hard to overcome. You don't need to be a top 3-point shooting team, but you can't ignore it in the modern game either. And Rutgers is taking just about 15 attempts per game, which is about as low as it gets these days. But can you make 5 or 6 of them? Can you shoot 33% from 3, 35%, 37 on certain nights? And that's going to really come down to, can Noah, Gavin, and Andre get into games and be effective from 3? Can they, and again, they don't have to go 5 for 5 like Noah did, but can they each go 1 for 2? Can go 2 for 4? Andre is going to be hunting threes. We know that. Noah, I think, is able to assume a role now where he could be an instant offense guy off the bench. And then Gavin, they're running plays for him. They're running pin down screens for him off of inbounds plays. Can he get his confidence back? He's been playing pretty solidly overall, but he hasn't been making shots of late. So you're never going to be able to rely on all 3 of them either. But if just one of them can have a good game from 3, that will go a long way. Of course, Simpson, J-Will, J-Mike, Mag, they're gonna shoot threes here and there. But as a team, can they make 5 or 6 a game here? That's going to make them a lot harder to beat. And I think those shots are going to be there, particularly in the second half of games, with this team being so effective, getting downhill, getting to the rim, running in transition, getting turnovers. So it's something to watch. It's something to watch for. What can Rutgers do down the stretch of these last 8 games? Another thing, too, I should mention, free throw rate. Rutgers is just 13th in terms of, and free throw rate is getting to the line. Not making your free throws, but how often you get there. They're just 13th in the league at 27%. They're shooting 67% from the line, 12th in the league. But the last 3 games, they made 30 of 37 free throws, which is, what is that percentage-wise? I mean, that's really good. But that's not enough attempts. 37 attempts in 3 games is not nearly enough for them. And that's part of this, too. So that's 81% in the last 3 games. Jeremiah, by the way, 10 of 10. But the thing here is that if you're not going to be a huge 3-point shooting team, if you're, and they've been improved from 2-point range, but again, they shot just 40% against Wisconsin. You got to make free throws and you got to get to the line. Now you have multiple guards who can get there. Noah's shooting 88% from the year from the line. Derek's 85%. Andre's high 70s. Jeremiah's been perfect, like I said. Mag even has been, competent at 70%. What's highest shooting? He is shooting 74% from the line. And then in terms of Jeremiah Williams for his career, what is he shooting from the line? He shot 64% at Temple both years. So he's shooting out of his mind right now from the line. But, you have 4 or 5 guys that can get to the line. And, if they can shoot over 70%, and again, Simpson, Fernandez, and Hyatt get into the line more, you're going to shoot a higher percentage. If they have leads down the stretch of games, that's going to be an advantage. So something to watch for there. But overall, in terms of down the stretch here, can they make a legitimate run to the postseason? And when I say postseason, that could be NIT too. John Templin, one of probably the most respected NIT bracketologist, is saying 5 wins to get to 18. He thinks he'll make it. NIT rules are different now. This year, they're pretty much going to stack Power 5 teams. So that's going to be on the table for this team. You're at 13-10. You're 5-7 in the league. You have 4 home games left: Northwestern, Maryland, Michigan, and Ohio State. If you can protect home court, that gets you to 9 Big Ten wins, and that gets you to 17 wins. And then you have 4 road games, 3 quad 1 opportunities: Purdue, Nebraska, Wisconsin. You already beat Nebraska, Wisconsin without Jeremiah. Nebraska they beat them without. Obviously, they dominated with Jeremiah Williams. They've won at Wisconsin their last 2 trips. Purdue is daunting. Minnesota's been a house of horrors for this program. But if they can get 2 road wins, that would put them at 5 for the season. If they can protect home court, if they go 6-2, what would that do? That would put them at 19-12. That would put them at 11-9 in Big Ten play. Based on the Big Ten being down this year, I wouldn't say that's a lock by any stretch of the imagination. And again, it's going to come down to wins, but like who they beat, more specifically. But that, if you look at the schedule, it's not impossible. And it's not even, you can't say it's probable, but you could see it happening with the way this team is playing, the way this team's connected. Again, how you got to look at the rest of the league too. Wisconsin's trending down. Ohio State's trending down. Minnesota's kind of up and down. Dawson Garcia, I'm not sure about his health status. He seemed a little banged up in the game this weekend. Northwestern, we know Barry's probably going to be out. So if Rutgers can stay healthy, if they can continue to gel as a team with Jeremiah Williams, having Bole come off the bench now, he's pretty much going to be the 9th guy, but subbing for Cliff. This team has something going, and it feels a little different in a positive way. And it's so funny. Literally, it's a calendar year from when Mag went down to the Penn State loss. The Penn State loss was the last day of the year since Mag went down. That was on January 31st. Mag went down February 4th. So it's the Michigan game. Things turned around the day before a year anniversary of Mag going down. So, and I tweeted this recently. I mean, has a team had it worse than Rutgers in terms of high major team, stomach punch things happening to them in terms of the Mag injury, falling apart down the stretch, going 3-8, being essentially the last team left out of the NCAA tournament, having the defections of Cam Spencer and Paul Mulcahy so late in this off season. They lost 4-star Baden Ndongo, who's starting for Georgia Tech when Carl Hobbs left. You had a difficult start to the season. Mag's injury took a while to come back. You had other guys you took in, Noah Fernandez, Austin Williams battling season-ending injuries from last year. Bole took a while to come back from a torn ACL. You had even Jeremiah Williams, with the NCAA eligibility and all that. I probably missed something in what I just said. But all of a sudden, it's almost like if you said, all right, to the basketball gods, we will just take whatever the worst you got for the next year. And then all of a sudden things are going to turn around and you get this amazing recruiting class coming in next year. I don't want to say, is it worth it? All that stuff. What I'm saying is, and it was a big theme of my rapid reaction, tables, they turn sometimes, the strokes. It just feels like maybe the college basketball gods are giving back now for pens served, for time served over the last year. And all of a sudden, this is a completely different team. The Big Ten landscape is wide open. And in terms of teams left on their schedule, other than at Purdue, which, by the way, Rutgers has had success winning there. I'm not saying they will this time. But other than that game, Rutgers has a real shot. I mean, in terms of KenPom, it favors them 3 out of 4 home games. The Northwestern's a 50-50 game. And then, Minnesota, 36% chance. Not much chance in Nebraska, Wisconsin. But listen, those are 2 teams they already beat. They're going to go in there with confidence. If you can go 5-3 even, you guarantee Just getting 4 wins, you guarantee you winning season. 5 more wins, you get that 10. You get that 500 Big Ten record. Be 5 years in a row they win at least 10 games in the regular season. Only 4 programs have done 4 years. Talking about Illinois, Michigan, Iowa, and Rutgers. Michigan probably isn't going to do it this year. Iowa, could. What are they right now? They are 6-7. But they have a pretty tough schedule down the stretch. I mean, they have Illinois twice, Michigan State, and Northwestern. They also have Wisconsin, Maryland. So regardless, this is all stages. Everyone's shooting for the moon in the NCAA tournament, but I look at it overall, just respectability for the program. Can they get a winning record for a 5th year in a row? Can they get 10 regular season wins for a 5th year in a row? Can they get on the bubble? Can they make the NIT? Can they legitimately make the NCAA tournament? Right. And I don't think you can really rely on the Big Ten tournament right now, because we saw last year it was kind of seemed like their minds are made up. And I know everybody wants to harp on the MAG, counting that Rutgers, losing MAG, and they were a different team. And that was what the NCAA tournament cited. But let's not forget that also there were some dynamics going on with the conferences. Penn State got really hot after Rutgers came from behind and beat them. And the Big Ten had 9 teams already. So Rutgers, I really think the conference dynamic, the conference politics played into that just as much or possibly even more than the whole MAG thing. So, yes, will they play it up for Rutgers if they, go on this winning streak? If they finish the regular season, 9-2 with Jeremiah Williams, it has to be a factor. And the rest of the bubble is going to be a factor too. So much has to play out. So I'm not, just don't overstate what I'm saying here. And I'm not saying 3-point shooting and 3-point defense is the key to everything, but it's a major key. There's lots of keys, right? You can't turn the ball over. You got to rebound. You got to shoot better at the rim. You got to make your free throws. I mean, you got to stay healthy. I mean, it's everything, right? But if you look at the way the landscape is, if you look at the schedule, if you look at the way Rutgers is playing, if you look at the data, I'm really harping on that 3-point shot for Rutgers offensively and for defense, keeping, how that margin is going to be and how that can effectively help them reach their ceiling as a team. And let's just have fun with this, right? Let's just have fun, see what happens. At the end of the day, this program is back to respectability on the floor. They're fun. They're having fun out there. And the possibilities, I mean, that's why you can never give up. And can they go dance in a March? Yes. Would it be in a probable run? Yes. Is it likely? No. But I'm telling you, there's a chance. Thanks for listening and watching the Scarlet Faithful podcast once again.